have to start by talking about the farts of God. Faiteen is my sister. She's the beautiful one. And the smart one. Anyway, they was putting the microphone on me, and I told them never ever wire Egyptian again. Anyway, that's a brown joke. I'm not politically correct, you will discover this very soon. Thank you all for coming, and thank you, Faiteen, for inviting me. The relationship goes long, my Faiteen and her husband and her kids and our family. She's truly like a sister to me, and definitely I'm even more and more proud to call her a sister and a friend. As Faiteen indicated in the beginning, when I was 18 years old, I'm 40 now, so I'm extremely old man. And I start to develop what I call Egyptian muscles. I will not be standing up in the same position. Sorry for the camera people. I'm ADD, DDDD. So that will not work with me. You can see me. I'm good? Oh, thank you. In the beginning, when I converted from Islam to Christianity, in the age of 18, after 2 years after that, when I created my movement in Egypt, I was arrested and I was put in the Egyptian prison. And until now, I have my scars on my body. I consider them Medal of Honor. Actually, it wasn't that long time ago, a few years ago, when I received the medal from the Queen Diamond Jubilee, Queen Diamond Jubilee. And the person who gave it to me was, at the time, the Minister of Defense, Jason Kenney, and as he's given it to me, he told me, Majed, is this your first Medal of Honor? I told him, no, actually, it's my second. He said, what's your first? I said, the scars that I have on my body for Christ. Even though I spent 7 days in the torture section in Egypt, even though I was hanged upside down, beaten, shaved the hair of my head, they put my head in cold and hot water, crucified me for 2.5 days, they put salt and lemon in my open wounds. But when they released the 3 dogs to attack me, the 3 dogs didn't move. It's because the same God of yesterday, He's the same God of today, and He's the same God of tomorrow. If you believe that the stories that you read in the Bible just something that happened 2,000 years ago or 5,000 years ago, you are mistaken. It's happening every day. The fact that you don't see them, because we have our TV, we have our cars, we have our lives and our bank accounts, doesn't mean it doesn't happen. It happens every single day. And because I was a refugee, and because I ended a refugee, and I had to fight for what I believe, I came here to Canada and I decided that we have to do something about the persecution that's happening to the Christians and to the believers in general. How many people know that there is one persecuted Christian every 3 minutes worldwide? Last year, over 180 Christians was killed. 180,000 Christians was killed for their faith. Between 200 to 300 million persecuted Christians worldwide. Our organization became the Frontline, the organization that deals with the wars from Afghanistan to Pakistan, to Iraq, to Syria. 2 months ago, I was in Raqqa, actually, with some of the Kurdish soldiers. And I I'm planning to be there in a very near future. I cannot give dates in public. If this is recorded, I cannot give, if this is on the internet, I cannot give a date. I get shot at 7 times in the last 5 years. We receive a lot of threatening calls, hate emails every day. I can sit down with you and I can tell you what's happening in Iraq and in Syria and what's going on there with regard what ISIS is doing to the people and how much they are making damage, especially to the Christians. But I think our media is talking about this too often and too much, and they are giving a platform to the enemy. I will tell you what God is doing in Iraq and in Syria. Because it doesn't matter how much the power that ISIS have, the enemy is zero. And our God is more powerful, and the enemy will be defeated in every single way. Because we know this, that 2,000 years ago, he died for me and you. And we know that we will win this battle. So the enemy can try, and the enemy can win a battle or two, but God will win the war. Make no mistake about that. When the genocide started in Iraq and in Syria 3 years ago, we woke up at one day and we found a genocide in our hands. The same thing that happened in Rwanda, Darfur, and many of the nations, the Armenian genocide, the Jewish genocide, the Holocaust. We ended in a genocide happening right now 3 years ago. And it's still continuing until now. We found Christians being killed, being massacred. We found Yazidis, which is a group that maybe not well known in North America. It's a very ancient religion, very peaceful religion. And they take parts from, like, the parts of Islam, part of Christianity, part of Judaism. And the question here is, do I have to be a Yazidi to defend Yazidis? The question here is, do I have to be a Christian just to help Christians? Because this is not the heart of God, or the fart of God. This will be in the video for a long time. This will be on the internet. This will be a scandal. This will be in the end of my ministry. Like, it will be a lot of things happening, like unbelievable. It's like, oh, we heard about this great ministry, One Free Word Attention. What's happened to it? Faitin farted on it. This was... I didn't start that. Usually my lawyers tell me, Majed, tune it down. We'll get sued one day. That's not my fault. That's not my fault. That's why we have insurance. Anyway, that's a different story. The truth and the reality that I don't have to be a Yazidi to defend Yazidis. I am a Yazidi. I am a Yazidi when I'm fighting for Yazidis. I'm a Jewish when I'm fighting against anti-Semitism. I'm a woman when I'm fighting for equality. I'm a Baha'i, I'm Ismaili. And this is the true heart of Christianity. It doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter who we are. I will help you always in Jesus' name. Not in the human rights name. There is many crimes happening around the world in the name of human rights. I am telling you right now, I will help you in Jesus' name. Doesn't matter who you are. We created a committee, and I wore my suit, and I decided I would go to Iraq and in Syria to face this evil. I didn't know where to start. I didn't know where to end. All what I know, that my God, the God of life, is much stronger than the God of death. We started and we went to Iraq. It was 3 years ago when I landed. Today, as we're fighting, our organization is all over Kurdistan, is all over Baghdad, but above all, we are in Raqqa, the hard capital of ISIS. And as I'm talking to you right now, we was able to free more than 600 Yazidi girls from ISIS territory by the grace of God. When the genocide started, it was 7,000 Yazidi girls. 7,000 Yazidi girls. After 3 years, many of them was freed, escaped, killed, mostly killed. Now we are fighting for 3,000 Yazidi girls in Raqqa, in Syria. We will not rest until they are freed or the problem is finished. One of us will have to end the conflict or my life, but I'm not leaving them behind. Or I will pay the price with my life, which is okay with me. What is life? Many people, they waste their time about when life started and when life will end. That's nonsense. I don't care when life started, quite honestly, and I don't care when life will end. I care what I did with it. The only request that I have, if life will end, I want it to end before I pay my American Express. That's all that I can tell you. That's the only thing that I need. It doesn't matter which human being that you are dealing with. We will fight for them. Today, as we are talking to you, we had another fight when we come to the Canadian government. After we freed the 600 girls, we had to continue. In the beginning, they would sell these girls by 2,000 to 4,000 American dollars. And we was able, through some Kurdish tribes, I was able to grow my beard. I was able to cross the borders. And trust me, when I grow my beard, I look like one of them. And because my Islamic background, I was able to speak the language. I was able to understand the religion, the culture. And you have to act like them to some degree. And this has really destroyed your, because when you come back, you need a lot of healing. And you get a lot of nightmares. I was able to go there with some of the Kurdish tribes, and was able to go to these markets that we was able to locate in Mosul. And now in Raqqa, we are trying to locate the same markets. We're still starting, we didn't break through yet. But right now, we are fighting for the 3,000 girls. And in the beginning, their prices was 2,000 to 4,000 American, depending on their age, their beauty, if they are virgin or not. I'm sorry I'm talking about it like it's normal, but it's been my life for the last 3 years. Now, the price is from 11,000 to 15,000 American dollars because supply is and demand. You had 7,000, now you only have 3. Some of them as young as 9 years old. 9 years old. And we start our fight with the Canadian government because the Canadian government didn't even want to recognize it as a genocide. Everybody was recognized it. The British Parliament, Congress, the European Parliament, not Canada. Canada refused to recognize it as a genocide. There was 2 motions in the Parliament, and all of them was failed because the Liberals had the majority. And we had to start fighting with the Canadian government. And after a long fight with the Canadian government accepted to take 1,200 families here in Canada, and our fight with them will continue. Because they just took 40,000 Syrians in 4 or 5 months. You don't want to take the vulnerable minorities, the Christians and the Yazidis? The vulnerable minorities that actually doesn't have militias to protect them? You want to take 40,000 from Syria, all of the majority, if not all, Muslims. Now, don't misunderstand, I'm not trying to be politically correct. There is many of the Muslim people that need protection. Women, children, civilians, absolutely. But all of them Muslims? All of them? If the Canadian government came today and told me we'll give you all 40,000 of them as Christians, I would say no. I'll say, what about the Yazidis? What about the other minorities? One of the families that we met, you can sit down and think about many things. But as we're talking about the pain that ISIS caused them, gang rape, torture, female genital mutilation, beheading them. As your heart is sinking right now, and you're thinking what a dark picture that is, I want to share with you about Family M. Let's call them Family M. Family M, when they came to my attention, here's their story. One of the sisters was taken and was sold multiple times. I will not go through the details of what's happened to her. The another sister, they brought her husband in front of her, put him in the ground and shot him in the head. She have a little girl by the name Rugine. And ISIS fighter didn't like that she was a baby, she was crying. They took her from her head, they hit her head in the wall so hard to kill her. The another sister, they was forcing her to drink from the toilet. Can you imagine what's happened if you are in their place? Can you do me a big favor? You just heard what the enemy did to them. Can you please welcome them on the stage as they know what God did to them? Please come with me. You want to say something? You want to say something? Speak. Say something. Say something. Oh, come on now. You know English a little bit. You've been going to school now.
Thank you so much, Canada. I love you, Canada.
Oh, come on now. Oh, come on, it's a woman conference. Come on now. If you didn't speak, God would fart all over you. The last thing that you need to know, and the last thing that you need to hear from me before I leave. Our enemy have very strong army, it's true. Our enemy have very strong weapon, it's true. But we have the Lord Almighty. The last thing that you need to hear from me, the last thing that you need to hear from me. After every night, there is new morning and a new day. After every storm, there is sunshine. And after every persecution, there is victory in Jesus' name. The last thing that you need to hear from me, they can always kill the believers, but they cannot kill the belief of our hearts. They can always kill the dreamer, but no one can kill the dream. Thank you, and God bless you all. Thank you.
Reverend, thank you so much for sharing the heart of God. So we want to say on behalf of all of us here, and maybe you can share this with your family after, we want to say welcome to Canada. We love you. We are so glad that you're here, and we know that God has very wonderful plans for you. So I was talking to Majed, and I asked him, I said, how much did it cost to save this family? He said about $15,000. So that was like the airfares, the legal fees, everything in. And I said, would you be okay if we took up an offering so we could save a couple more families? Yeah, we can't not respond. You just saw my family up here, right? The drama. I'm looking forward to having some really good time snuggles with my babies this week as they've given their mom into this conference. But, I think about my own children. Like I was just a baby that was smashed against the wall. And I think, like, if I was in that situation and there were a people that had the ability to be the game changer, not just for me, but for my children, what would the cry of my heart be? I'm so grateful for Majed because he's given us such a, I was talking about the word flesh. He's given us such a illustrated sermon here of what it means to do the works of Jesus. But the reality is we can celebrate that there's this amazing family here, these amazing women and 2 little boys that are here, but what about all the ones that aren't here yet? And Majed has the connections. Majed has the conduits, the systems in place to get, and he has the courage. He has the courage to go, to boldly go. And so tonight we're not taking up an offering for the conference. This is going to be a missions offering. 100% of what's coming in here, we're going to personally absorb the merchant fees as a ministry. So even if you give by credit card or whatever, 100% of this is going to go into mercy and justice for the poor. And there's a protocol for the Women on the Frontlines movement that Patricia King has a amazing ministry outreach in Cambodia fighting for the ending of human trafficking. And so 100% of this offering is going to go into the poor. 50% is going to go probably into the work in Cambodia, into justice ministries, rescuing girls out of the sex trade. And 50% of it is going to go into rescuing another Yazidi family, or 2, or 3, or 4. Can we give them another hand of applause for their courage in being here tonight with us? Let's do the works of Jesus. Let's be the Word made flesh as well. Patricia, is there anything that you would like to insert into this moment or articulate?
There's so much darkness out there, but our light is greater. And as he was sharing, I was thinking, what could possibly motivate someone to take a baby and bash them against the wall until they die? And you wonder, like, what's going on in their hearts? What has happened to them? What have those that are bound by the deception of ISIS and others that are acting like that, what have they gone through? And there's so much rescue that is needed. And we are big enough in God to bring light into it all, to bring rescue into it all. And I wanted to just share briefly that we actually have a Women on the Frontlines team going into Iraq just in a few months to the Yazidi women. This will be our second tour in there. And it's true, like what he said, a lot of those women, the young girls, but also the old women. We found old women who had been raped 15 to 18 times a day by ISIS. And so we've just got to do something about it, and we can do something about it, and we can see peace come to all. And I believe that we can go right to the roots. So when you're praying for this whole thing, pray for those who are victims. I mean, these men that are actually doing it, they are victims also of the deception, and we have to see them set free too. So let's really go into prayer, because there's nothing God can't do.